Dr. Dumsor. So for this discussion, you're looking at two elements. We are looking at its impact on Ghana's economy and, of course, the energy sector. So looking at Ghana's economy, my question is, from a fiscal policy standpoint, do you think that reintroducing the energy sector levy is a sustainable strategy?
Well, I think your key word here is a sustainable strategy, and I'll address that in my commentary. Let's look at the state of the Ghanaian economy now. As we are all aware, the difficulties we went through, we had to resort to the IMF program. And in the IMF program, one of the issues that were raised, I think this budget has even addressed it, is to resolve the energy sector debt, i.e. reform even the energy sector, so that we do not continue to pile up debt and it becomes efficient. So there's so much inefficiencies in the system, in the energy sector, in terms of power generation, in terms of revenue collection, so much waste going on over there is the reason we have this huge debt. But can the economy support another tax? I think it's a bit debatable. On one hand, you want to resolve crisis, you don't want to live in Dumsor. On the other hand, you don't want to overburden the same people who have been paying tax over and over and over again. So another issue that, we have been experiencing quarterly adjustments of our tariffs, whether upwards or downwards, but of course we have been experiencing upward adjustment. And the key issue that was raised by the IMF was the fact that, well, we do not pay the economic tariffs or the economic price. Here, economic price means the price we are paying are not able to help ECG to recover its cost. They're not even able to break even. So there must be some adjustments so that they can at least break even or avoid losses. That point, I agree. You should pay for what you use. So if there's anything at all, it must be about the tariffs. It must be about the collection. It must be about the revenue generation. If I consume power, I should pay for it, the right price. So it shouldn't be the case where people would use their own pay, public sector institutions will use their own pay, and then you come and impose a levy on somebody who may not be using that much in that instance. So currently, the number of taxes which have been introduced, I was even surprised that this tax was introduced at this stage, because in the 2025 budget, they told us, if I say they, I mean the government told us that, well, Ghanaians were overburdened, so they had to remove certain taxes. You are all aware about the COVID-19 tax, which is not still removed, but anyway, I support that they should keep it. And then they mentioned the other one, betting tax, and then the e-levy, right? So then you do away with this, you call them nuisance taxes, and then you bring in these newly introduced taxes. Currently, as we speak, by next month, we'll be paying another VAT on. So the number of taxes, I am not speaking against taxes. Of course, taxes can be used for various reasons, two main reasons. One should be for revenue collection, and the other, maybe you want to change consumption pattern. But in this case, it's purely for revenue generation. So if there's any inefficiency in the energy sector and you want to introduce any tax at all, you should rather find a sustainable way of making sure that you raise enough revenue, and then those leakages and those weaknesses do not repeat by itself. So let me go straight to, with this background, let me go straight to answer your question. Would the current economic structure support the D-levy? I would say no. I would say no, because the D-levy itself does not directly address the challenges in the energy sector. If you are having any challenges, if you're having any weaknesses, you're having any wastages in the system, try to address them first before you think of raising any revenue. In the short term, it may be an ideal, it may be a faster way, low-hanging fruit, a faster way of raising revenue so that Ghanaians do not sleep in Dumsor, which we all want to avoid. But in the long term, I don't think that this is a sustainable solution to the energy debt that we are all confronted with. I don't think so. I don't think it's a sustainable solution to that, or permanent solution. Temporary, yes, you may get some cities here and there. You mentioned 5.7 billion cities. You may get some cities here and there to cushion ourselves in the shortest possible time. We may all be comfortable, but in the future, it will not be sustainable. If you want to address the weaknesses in the energy sector, embark on the reforms, go back to identify where the problems are coming from and address them. Issues of revenue collection, issues of wastages, issues of leakages, whatever issue there is, which has been leading to piling up debts for us. So the D-levy is not a permanent solution to get us out of the mess, because we know where the problem is coming from. If you don't know as a government, then go there and find where the problems are coming from and then resolve it. And then later on, we can talk about whatever levy or taxes that must be introduced. But like I said, in the short term, maybe it may relieve us, get some crude oil so that we don't experience doom. So already we have enough generating capacity. What is important is to get some crude oil to power our plants, and so that we can get enough power to do our business. The reason I said this is not a sustainable thing, because like I said, it's not directly linked. Somebody is using electricity. Let's say, for example, the person is not paying for it, or the person is not paying the right amount. And then you think that the way to resolve the issue is to go and tax fuel and use the money for a sector which is giving you debt. So let people pay the right price. If I use electricity, let me pay the right price. If you're supposed to collect the revenue, collect the right revenue, no corruption. And then we can at least deal with some of the issues. But to move it into fuel, what about somebody who uses electric vehicle? The person using electric vehicle doesn't buy fuel. So I'm not sure that person will be made to pay. But if you are using electricity to power your car, you may be, contributing to the debt over there. So the person is not buying fuel to pay the levy, but the person is using electricity, unless maybe there's a way, because I didn't even hear directly that if you go to charge your electric vehicle, you pay, unless there's a way to make such individuals pay. So honestly speaking, a short answer to your question is that the current economic structure where we find ourselves and the kind of D-levy which is supposed to be introduced and the problem, where the problem is coming from, they are not really linked. And it's going to be difficult to defend something like this in the midst of trying to stabilize your economy. We are at a point where we have experienced adjustments in tariffs here and there, and you are bringing a new tax, and your defense of the new tax is not really sustainable. It does not sit well with the source of the problems, and you have not convinced us into saying that this is a permanent solution to the issue. So my concern really is about, is it a permanent solution to the issues or the energy debt? I don't think so. In the short term, maybe we can get some revenue so that we don't sleep in Dumsor. But going forward, we should rethink about it, because our economic stability should not be disturbed. We should not get to a point where you keep introducing taxes, and even if you don't experience economic pushbacks, the political pushback is there, social pushback. We know what has happened in Kenya. We don't want that situation to happen in Ghana. And it's all about taxes. You keep piling taxes, and you don't give us enough justification, enough explanation, and researchers like myself and my other panelists do not even see the linkage, then it becomes a huge problem to support it. So this is where I'll end my first submission. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doc. But just to, still stay on you, of course, government has made us to understand that this was supposed to be a stopgap measure. So in the long run, what should we be considering?
Well, I think we should be asking government rather, because they say that it should be a short measure. Then we have to ask them, what is your long-term measure? But of course, maybe government is not represented here. So I will try to guess. We go back to the 2025 budget again. There are a number of reforms that has been proposed in the energy sector. I think that they should adhere to those proposals and stay committed to it. Let me give you maybe a list of my proposals as you have asked. One, where is the debt coming from? Let's identify the source of the debt, because there is so much money in the energy sector. People are making so much profit. I don't see why this energy sector should be giving us headache in all the years. It's been there for decades. To identify where the problem is. My issue, I'm not an expert, and I think my friends Duncan and others can speak well to the technical issues, but I suspect there are so many inefficiencies. First of all, wastage, how much we produce and how much we consume. There's always a gap. I may not give figures to it, but all of us will anticipate that there will be a gap in how much is produced and how much is being consumed, and where is the rest. That's the first issue. The second issue is about even the revenue collection. Are we collecting the right amount? Is there any inefficiency in the revenue collection? I heard from somebody, who works close to ECG, that in the few months or weeks where we had this CD, the other private company, we almost privatized under MPP. Remember? I don't know. I've forgotten the name. DBS, yes. So when we always had a DBS takeover, that person told me that their revenue collection was boosted. In fact, they were able to, close some of the leakages in revenue collection. So that's an area that we should look at in terms of revenue collection. Maybe, if you ask me, I'll propose that we privatize, if not privatize the entire ECG, but at least privatize revenue collection. People must pay for what they consume. I don't see why somebody will consume electricity. The person will not pay or not pay part of it. Illegal connection, public institutions consuming electricity, using it for all kinds of things. And then they don't pay for it. It becomes a debt. And then you want to go and tax fuel to make up for the loss. I don't see where this is coming from. So make people pay the right price. As the IMF puts it, pay the economic price. And also ensure that you consume, you pay, so that you can block all the leakages in the system, and then find a permanent solution for the excess generated electricity. If we have to export them, then let's export them. If you feel we are generating more than we need, as we have been told all these years, then let's export them and make it. So the inefficiencies, the leakages, the wastages in the energy sector, for me, is what must be addressed. Let's find a permanent solution. Let's show that we are serious as a country, find a permanent solution, and identify the problem and ensure that we resolve these issues. Because you can tax all you want. You can bring out D levy, E levy, F levy, G levy. If the inefficiencies in terms of generation and in terms of revenue collection are not addressed, we'll come back here and debate another levy that the government is proposing, and we'll be dancing around these issues for many years to come. So let's go and attack the wastages, the inefficiencies, and then the weaknesses in the revenue collection. For me, this is where I feel the problem is coming from, and that is the kind of reform we need. Even if we have to privatize parts of ECG, let's go ahead and do it and make sure that we get value for money. Thank you.